Right now, in this exact moment, the person who walked away from you is feeling something they cannot name. Not guilt, not nostalgia. Something deeper, a restlessness that started on April 14th and has not stopped. Something shifted in the field between you, and they felt it land in their chest like a door closing on the only exit they thought they had. You didn't chase them here. Something older than either of you did. And what you've been carrying, the exhaustion, the self-doubt, the replaying of every moment wondering where you went wrong, that was never evidence that you were too much. It was evidence that the contract was still open. The nodal axis just activated. This is not a forecast, this is not a possibility. April 14th already happened. The axis already moved, and the person who ran is already the one who can no longer stay away. If this is landing somewhere specific in your body right now, if you felt your breath shift reading those words, then comment. Activated below, like this video, and subscribe to this channel. Not for the algorithm, not for a metric, because your soul just recognized something it's been waiting to hear confirmed. And that comment is your declaration to the field. I am here, I am open, and I am claiming what this activation is already delivering. Showing up to this video today was not random. The nodes pulled you here exactly when the contract needed a witness. Now let's talk about what this axis actually does to karmic bonds, and why everything you thought you understood about this situation just flipped overnight. The nodal axis is not an astrological event you observe from a distance. It is the karmic ledger of the soul, the cosmic record of what was promised, what was avoided, and what is now coming due. The north node pulls every soul forward into its next evolution. The south node closes the accounts that were left unresolved. And when the axis activates, which it did April 14th with the north node moving into Aries, it does not ask for permission. It does not negotiate with comfort zones or personal timelines or someone's carefully constructed reasons for staying away. It surfaces every unresolved contract with the force of a debt collector who has been patient long enough. You may have felt this building for weeks before April 14th without understanding why. A sense of something approaching, like pressure in the air before a storm that hasn't broken yet. You may have had recurring dreams about this person. Sudden, unprovoked memories surfacing during ordinary moments. A feeling of being watched or felt across a distance you couldn't measure. An inexplicable loyalty that you couldn't justify with logic, no matter how hard you tried to logic your way out of it. That was not weakness. That was the contract staying open. You were the one holding the energetic thread, and the axis needed that thread intact for the flip to work. But why does the runner flip specifically, and not just feel guilty? The answer lives inside what the runner has been suppressing all along. The runner in this dynamic did not leave because they felt nothing. They left because they felt everything, and everything they felt pointed directly back at parts of themselves they were not yet willing to face. Reframe that completely. Not cruelty, not indifference. Unresolved karmic fear wearing the costume of distance. In a soul contract like the one you are in, the runner actually carries the heavier karmic weight. They are the one with more debt on the ledger. They are the one whose south node patterns, avoidance, retreat, self-protection at the cost of genuine connection, have been accumulating interest for longer than this lifetime. And when the nodal axis activates, it does not create pressure from the outside. It creates collapse from the inside. The runner's avoidance, which once felt like freedom, begins to feel like a wall closing in. You may have felt for months or years like you were the only one who actually cared. Like you were the one showing up while they remained strategically unavailable. Like you were translating your love into language they could receive while they never quite extended the same effort back. You are not imagining that asymmetry. That asymmetry was the karmic design. Your consistency was not desperation. It was the anchor point the contract needed to remain open long enough for the axis to do what it just did. If you have spent nights replaying conversations, wondering what you missed, asking yourself whether you were simply wrong about the entire connection, know this: you were not wrong. You were early. And the cosmos just caught up to what you already felt. What actually happens in the field when a nodal axis activation hits a karmic bond is more precise than most people understand. And it matters that you understand this mechanic clearly. The axis creates a polarity swap. In every karmic bond, one person holds the most energetically open position. The one who loves more visibly, reaches more consistently, maintains the thread across distance and silence. That open energy is not passive, it accumulates. Every moment of patience, every reaching that went unanswered, every time you held the door open energetically while they stayed on the other side, all of that was investment. And the nodal axis, specifically with the North Node now in Aries, does something very specific. It forces the dormant party to initiate. Aries is the sign of action, of first moves, of no longer being able to remain static. The soul contract demanded initiation. And the runner, whose avoidance was only ever a delay, not an exit, is now being compelled from inside their own frequency. Not from guilt, from compulsion. The void left by your energetic absence, the absence they created by running, is beginning to register as physical pressure, not just emotional discomfort, something cellular, something they feel in their body when they wake at 3 a.m. for no reason they can explain. Something that surfaces when a song plays or a scent hits or someone uses a phrase you once used. The signs that this has already started for you are not subtle if you know what to look for. You may have received unexpected contact that seemed casual but felt loaded. You may have had mutual connections suddenly resurface or mention them without prompting. You may have sensed their presence, not imagined it, sensed it, before any external confirmation arrived. That is not wishful thinking. That is energetic literacy. And the signs in the physical world are about to become significantly less subtle. What this looks like in the days and weeks following April 14th is specific. Not a dramatic declaration, not the apology you may have scripted in your mind. The runner, operating from nodal pressure they don't yet have language for, will move indirectly first, reaching through channels that give them plausible deniability, mutual contacts, reactions on your content, a message that seems small but arrives in a moment that is impossible to read as coincidence, monitoring from a distance before they can bring themselves to close it, testing responses through third parties before committing to a direct approach. If you have already noticed any of this, you now understand what it is. Not mixed signals. The contract reasserting itself through the only opening their fear still allows. And here is what you need to hear clearly about your own role in this, because the fear that will come up for you is real, and it deserves to be addressed directly. You did not misread this connection. You may have misread the timing. You may have extended yourself into spaces that weren't ready to receive you, but the connection itself, what you felt, what you knew, what your body recognized before your mind had evidence, that was not projection. Not everyone who says, "I think there's something here," is wrong. Some people are simply right before the other person is ready to confirm it. If you have spent long stretches feeling like the only one invested, like you were building something alone while they watched from a safe remove, like you gave more than you received and somehow still couldn't make yourself stop, that is 5, 6, 7 validations of the exact energetic dynamic that karmic contracts produce in the chaser. You were not codependent. You were contractually committed to something that hadn't completed yet. The nodal axis did not make the runner feel you. It removed the escape route that allowed them to pretend they didn't. Gap resolved. They flipped because avoidance just became more painful than facing. And that changes everything about who you are in this dynamic from this point forward. If this is resonating, subscribe to this channel and comment contract below, or check the link in the description and pinned comment for the full activation guide built for exactly this moment. Because what this activation changes is not just the dynamic between you and them, it is the identity you have been living inside. The chaser archetype was never who you are. It was a karmic role you were assigned for the duration of the contract's open phase. And the North Node in Aries is not just pulling the runner toward you, it is pulling you toward yourself. Self-authorship, self-direction. The version of you who does not define their stability by whether or not someone else is reaching back. You may have felt smaller around this person than you do when you're alone, a compression of your own energy in their presence, a tendency to edit yourself, monitor your words, perform calm you didn't feel. That is the old frequency. The nodal upgrade happening inside you right now is not subtle if you pay attention to it, something is lighter, something is less frantic. The obsessive mental loop, the constant calculation of what they might be thinking, whether they miss you, whether you should say something or stay quiet, that loop has less grip than it did before April 14th. That is not detachment. That is alignment. And when they do reach out, and they will because the contract does not expire, it completes, you will meet them from a completely different level, not from need, not from relief, from a groundedness that is new in your body, recognizable as solid ground after a very long time standing on uncertain terrain. Before we reach what this has all been building toward, it matters to acknowledge what this season actually cost you. Loving visibly, when someone refuses to receive it, is one of the specific pains that does not get enough dignity. You were the one who stayed present while they stayed ambiguous. You were the one who found ways to love someone whose availability was inconsistent at best. You loved harder, stayed longer, gave more, and the accounting of that was never balanced in any external way that others could see. That matters. The grief of it is real. The love was real. The confusion, the years of wondering whether you were too much, whether you pushed where you should have waited, whether your instincts about this person were simply self-created narrative. That confusion was real, and it deserves to be named without shame. You may have told yourself, maybe I was too intense, maybe I expected too much, maybe I misread what was there. None of that was delusion. All of it was the experience of carrying a contract that the other party had not yet found the courage to honor. The NODAL shift does something retroactive. It redeems the experience. Your consistency, the thing you may have been most embarrassed about, the reaching, the holding on, that consistency is the evidence the contract is real. It is the proof the activation needed. And the resolution to the fear you may have named quietly, what if they come back and I collapse back into the old pattern, lives here. When they return, the nodes will have already upgraded your frequency. You won't collapse. You won't shrink. You will meet them from the version of yourself that the waiting built, and that version will not recognize the old dynamic as home, because it isn't. Not anymore. And now we've arrived at the moment this was all building toward. Right now, not hypothetically, not eventually, the person who ran from you is unsettled. Something shifted in their body on April 14th, and it has not resolved. They may not know what to call it. They may be attributing it to something else, stress, distraction, a general restlessness they're managing with routine. But underneath the management, something is reaching. Something that has their attention in the spaces between tasks, in the quiet before sleep, in the moment a song lands differently than it should for no reason they can justify. This is the activation in their field. The contract flipped, the karmic scale tipped. The weight of everything you held, every moment of love that went unacknowledged, every reaching that returned to you unanswered, every night you stayed certain about something they kept making uncertain, all of that accumulated in the field as potential energy, and April 14th converted it. You may have noticed they've been quieter on platforms where they once had presence. You may have felt a pull toward them that you can't explain as anxiety or attachment, something that feels more like signal than static. You may have received a sign so specific you almost dismissed it as projection, but it landed in your body with a weight that projection doesn't carry. Some of you have already felt them reaching energetically before any physical reach has arrived. That recognition you're feeling right now, that knowing, is not wishful thinking. It is the field confirming what the axis already did. The runner is not coming back from guilt. They are coming back from compulsion, from a place where staying away has become more costly than the fear that once made running feel safe. And this is the core inversion that changes everything. You are no longer the one who can't stop thinking about returning. You are the one they can't stop thinking about. The love you carried was never too much. It was the exact weight needed to tip the karmic scale, and it already did. You do not need to reach out. You do not need to perform stillness you don't feel or manufacture detachment as strategy. What you do now is 3 things, and they are simpler than everything you have been doing. Hold your frequency. Stay in the North Node Aries energy, which is self-directed, not reactive. Stop monitoring, the compulsive checking, the calculating. the reading of every silence as a verdict. Let the nodes deliver, because any contact they initiate from this point forward is not luck, not coincidence, not them deciding to grace you with attention. It is the contract completing. You are not waiting anymore. Waiting implies uncertainty about the outcome. What you are doing now is positioning, available but not anxious, open but not collapsed, lighter than you were, clearer than you were, less obsessive than you were 3 weeks ago. Notice that. That is what nodal alignment feels like in the body. The work now is staying in it, not chasing, not monitoring, not performing the version of yourself you thought they needed. Just being the person the axis has already upgraded you to be. What is karmically bound cannot be permanently avoided. You were always the attractor in this bond. You didn't lose the contract. You were the one keeping it alive, and it has already flipped. If you made it here, if you stayed through all of it, this message already did its work in you. Something landed. Something you have been needing to hear, confirmed, finally found language. Like this video, if it resonated somewhere beneath opinion, subscribe to this channel and comment. Seeger contract is below to seal this activation, not as a social media action, as a ritual completion. The word closes the loop that April 14th opened. And click the next video on your